Every year, rust quietly destroys more vehicles than accidents do, costing American drivers over $23 billion in repairs. And as road crews switch from rock salt to chemical brines, that number is climbing even faster. What most people don't realize is that you don't need an expensive undercoating or dealership package to stop it. There's one simple step, one product that costs about $12, that can permanently block the oxygen and moisture that start corrosion in the first place. No fancy equipment, no professional shop, just a can you can use in your driveway. In this video, we'll reveal the science behind how it works, where to use it, and what myths are destroying your car faster than rust itself. We'll also uncover a few surprising habits that turn even new vehicles into rust magnets. Let's start with the single most overlooked secret in rust prevention. 1. Hidden drains, the silent rust factory. Every car has a secret network of tiny holes, and almost no one knows they exist. These are your vehicle's water drains, hidden in places like the doors, sunroof corners, trunk, and under the windshield. Their job is simple: channel rainwater and melted snow away from metal cavities. But when they clog, rust starts working from the inside out. It begins quietly. Dirt, leaves, and road debris block the drain holes. Water collects behind door panels, under rubber seals, and inside rocker panels. The metal stays wet for days, sometimes weeks, creating the perfect environment for corrosion. Many drivers only discover the damage when rust bubbles appear along the bottom of the doors, or when the floor feels damp. By then, the damage is already spreading. Here's the fix. At least twice a year, clean every drain hole with trimmer string or compressed air. For sunroof drains, pour in a little water and make sure it exits underneath the car. If it doesn't, it's clogged. Push the string through until it flows freely. After clearing them, spray a light coat of your $12 rust inhibitor into those same openings. That thin, lanolin-based film will keep moisture from clinging to the inside surfaces again. A 5-minute job can prevent thousands in repairs, and it's the easiest rust protection step almost nobody does. 2. Hidden drains equals silent rust factory. Do this before winter. Before the first snow hits, there's one rust prevention step that almost every driver overlooks: clearing the hidden drains. These tiny passages are built into nearly every car. At the bottom of doors, under the trunk liner, inside the rocker panels, and even tucked beneath the sunroof. Their job is to let water escape, but once they clog with dirt, leaves, and road grime, that water stays trapped, slowly eating your car from the inside out. In cold weather, this becomes even worse. When trapped water freezes, it expands, cracking protective coatings and pushing salt deeper into the seams. By the time spring arrives, the rust has already begun spreading behind the panels. You don't need a mechanic to fix this. Just grab a piece of weed trimmer string or a long zip tie. Gently feed it into each drain until it passes through. Then, pour a small amount of warm water into the drain to make sure it flows freely. For an extra layer of protection, once the drains are clear, spray a bit of your $12 lanolin-based rust inhibitor inside. It will coat the hidden metal surfaces and repel moisture long after the next storm. Do this once before winter and once before spring. It takes less than 15 minutes, but it's one of the simplest habits that can stop hidden corrosion for good. 3rd, weekly undercarriage rinse in salt season. Fast routine. If you live anywhere that uses road salt, there's one simple ritual that can double your car's lifespan. A weekly undercarriage rinse. Every time you drive over salted roads, that brine splashes upward and clings to the steel frame, suspension parts, and brake lines. It doesn't just rinse off when it rains, it stays there, slowly eating into the metal. What makes it worse is that modern salt isn't just rock salt anymore. Many states now use liquid dicing brines, which stick like glue and accelerate rust 10 times faster than water alone. The fix? After every snowstorm, or at least once a week during winter, spray down your undercarriage. Drive-through washes help, but most use low-pressure nozzles that barely touch the buildup. Instead, invest in a simple undercarriage pressure wand or adapter. You can get one for around $30, and it attaches to any standard pressure washer. Aim the jets at the wheel wells, frame rails, suspension arms, and anywhere salt collects. 10 minutes of rinsing removes weeks of corrosive grime. If you've applied the $12 rust inhibitor, rinsing helps it last longer by keeping the protective film clean instead of caked in salt. Think of it as a quick reset, washing away everything that rust feeds on before it gets a chance to grow. It's fast, easy, and the cheapest winter habit that can quietly save you thousands in future repairs. 4. Neutralize brine. Why salt slush is worse than crystals. If you've ever driven after a snowstorm, you've seen it. That dirty gray slush that splashes up from the road and sticks to your car like glue. Most people think it's harmless. In reality, that slush is one of the most aggressive forms of corrosion your vehicle will ever face. Traditional rock salt crystals bounce off your car. They're messy, but easy to rinse away. Liquid brine, on the other hand, doesn't bounce. It bonds. It seeps into seams, bolts, and frame joints where no brush or wash bay can reach. Many states now rely on brine because it melts ice faster, but that convenience costs drivers an estimated $3 billion in rust-related damage every year. The solution is simple. Neutralize it before it starts working. You can buy a salt-neutralizing wash or additive online for just a few dollars. These solutions contain mild acids and surfactants that break the bond between salt and metal. Mix it into your pressure washer or foam cannon, spray the undercarriage, and rinse thoroughly. For best results, do this right after storms, before the brine has time to dry into cracks. If you've already applied the $12 lanolin-based inhibitor, this neutralizing wash helps maintain that film instead of stripping it. That sticky winter slush isn't just dirt, it's liquid corrosion, and the faster you neutralize it, the longer your car's steel stays untouched. 5. Myth bust. New cars don't need extra rust proofing. One of the most common myths pushed by dealerships and even some consumer magazines is that modern cars don't need rust proofing. They claim manufacturers already apply corrosion-resistant coatings that last the vehicle's lifetime. On paper, that's true, but in reality, it's far from bulletproof. Recent recalls prove it. Honda, Subaru, Toyota, and General Motors have all recalled cars due to premature frame rust, even on models just a few years old. These failures usually happen in states that use heavy road salt. But the truth is, any moisture-rich environment can cause corrosion. Manufacturers design coatings for lab conditions, not for 10 winters of salted roads. Even the best factory protection breaks down over time. The thin zinc and e-coat layers chip from gravel, get worn away by debris, and eventually expose raw steel underneath. Once that happens, rust doesn't ask for permission. It spreads fast. That's why smart drivers treat rust proofing as maintenance, not marketing. A $12 can of lanolin-based inhibitor, sprayed once a year, can outperform factory coatings that cost automakers thousands to apply. It seeps into seams, replaces lost protection, and keeps the underside slick enough that salt can't stick. Don't wait for rust to appear before you take it seriously. Factory coatings are a great start, but they're not a guarantee. Think of the $12 spray as renewing your car's armor each year. A simple, cheap habit that fills in where the manufacturer stopped. 6. Use the $12 can inside seams and rocker cavities, where rust starts. The most dangerous rust isn't the kind you can see. It's the kind that forms inside your car's seams, rocker panels, and hidden cavities. These are the hollow spaces that run along the bottom of your doors and under your side panels. They're designed to strengthen the frame and drain water, but they're also the first places rust takes hold. Here's why. Salty water splashes up from the road and gets trapped inside those narrow cavities. It doesn't evaporate quickly, and even the best factory coatings can't reach the interior surfaces. Over time, that trapped moisture eats the metal from the inside out, slowly working its way to the exterior paint. That's where your $12 lanolin-based spray becomes the hero. The formula creeps, meaning it flows into gaps and seams that paint, wax, or thick undercoating can't touch. After clearing your drains, insert the straw nozzle into the small holes along your doors, rocker panels, and tailgate. Spray a short burst into each opening until it drips out slightly. Inside, that thin oily film coats the entire cavity, pushing out moisture and blocking oxygen from reaching the steel. The film doesn't dry or crack. It stays soft and flexible for months. Avoid rubber seals, belts, and brakes. But don't be shy about every bolt, seam, and frame rail you can reach. This single step protects the very spots that rust-proofing shops often miss. And it's the cheapest, most effective defense your car will ever have. 7. When $12 needs a partner, convert before you coat. That $12 rust inhibitor works wonders, but it can't fix rust that's already started eating into the metal. Once corrosion takes hold, spraying over it only seals in the problem. That's why, before using your lanolin-based coating, you need its partner, a rust converter. Rust converters are chemical sprays that react with iron oxide, turning flaky brown rust into a hard black primer-like surface. Products like Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer, or similar, cost about $10 and work in minutes. Once applied, they stop the chemical reaction that feeds corrosion and create a paintable barrier for your protective film. Here's the correct order. Clean the area with a wire brush or sandpaper until it's smooth. Spray the rust converter and let it cure fully, usually overnight. Once dry, add a thin layer of paint or primer, then finish with your $12 lanolin spray to seal it off from air and moisture. This combination gives you the best of both worlds: chemical protection from the converter and physical protection from the inhibitor. It's especially useful for suspension parts, exhaust hangers, or any surface already showing early signs of rust. Think of it like medicine and armor. One stops the infection, the other prevents it from ever coming back. Skip this step, and rust keeps spreading under the surface. Do it right, and that $12 can becomes a permanent solution, not a temporary patch. 8. Heavy scale triage, quick demo. Sometimes rust doesn't just stain the surface, it flakes, bubbles, and eats straight through the metal. That's called scale rust, and it's the stage right before the steel starts breaking apart. If you spray over it with your $12 inhibitor, you're only covering the problem. To stop it for good, you'll need to do a quick rust triage. Start by knocking off the loose flakes with a wire brush or scraper. Don't worry about making it perfect. The goal is to remove as much of the crust as possible. Then, grab a phosphoric acid gel, often sold under names like navel jelly. This inexpensive gel chemically dissolves iron oxide, leaving behind clean, bare metal in just 10 to 15 minutes. Once the rust is gone, rinse the area with water and let it dry completely. Then spray a coat of rust converter to lock in the clean surface. After it cures, apply a primer or a paint. And finally, finish it off with your lanolin-based rust inhibitor to seal it from future moisture. This entire process can be done in under an hour. No special tools required. It's the best way to save aging suspension arms, brackets, or frame edges that already look too far gone. Rust triage isn't complicated. It's just layered defense. Remove the damage, neutralize it, then protect it. Skip any step, and the corrosion will return. Do all three, and even old steel can look and last like new. 9. Rubber floor mats can secretly rot floors. Rubber floor mats might seem like a smart way to protect your interior, but for many drivers, they're secretly destroying it. The problem isn't the mats themselves, it's what happens underneath them. When snow, ice, or rainwater melts off your shoes, it collects on the mat. Most of us assume it just sits there safely until we clean it, but water has a way of finding cracks, seams, and carpet edges. It seeps below the rubber where it gets trapped against the floor pan, and that's where the real damage begins. Because rubber mats are waterproof, they also block airflow, so once moisture gets underneath, it can't evaporate. The carpet stays damp and the metal below begins to rust. Drivers often don't notice until they lift the mats months later and find the carpet soaked or the floor starting to flake. Here's how to stop it. After every wet drive, especially in winter, remove the mats and let the carpet breathe. If possible, use a small fan or leave the doors open for a few minutes to help it dry. You can even sprinkle baking soda to absorb extra moisture. If you want to go further, apply your $12 rust inhibitor to the seams along the floor edges or beneath the seat mounts. Anywhere trapped water might pool. A few minutes of drying after a storm can save your floorboards and your wallet from one of the most hidden rust traps inside your car. 10. Heat accelerates corrosion. Garage myth. One of the biggest rust myths out there is that cold weather causes corrosion. It doesn't. Heat does. More specifically, warm, humid air mixed with road salt is the perfect recipe for rapid rust. And if you park your salted car in a heated garage, you're speeding that process up dramatically. Here's why. Corrosion is a chemical reaction that doubles in speed with roughly every 18 degrees. Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, rise in temperature. When you pull into a warm garage after driving on icy salted roads, the snow and slush melt immediately. The salty water then spreads into every crack, seam, and cavity. What was once frozen now becomes an active chemical bath that starts eating into the metal the moment the temperature rises. Drivers assume warmth protects their car, but in reality, it's doing the opposite. It's giving rust the perfect environment to grow. The best solution is not to heat the garage unless absolutely necessary. Keep it cool, dry, and well ventilated. If you do want to warm it up, first rinse or wash the undercarriage to remove salt, and then use a fan or dehumidifier to circulate air. You can even spray a fresh layer of your $12 lanolin-based inhibitor before the next cold front. It'll form a barrier that keeps that melted brine from sticking in the first place. In the fight against rust, warmth isn't comfort, it's corrosion. 11. Spot. It early equals save thousands. 3 rust types. The biggest mistake most drivers make isn't ignoring rust, it's not recognizing it early enough. Rust doesn't appear overnight. It starts small, spreads quietly, and by the time you notice it, the damage is often irreversible. But if you know what to look for, you can stop it before it costs you thousands. There are 3 main types of rust every driver should know. The first is surface rust, a thin orange film that forms where paint has chipped or scratched. It's purely cosmetic at this stage and easy to fix. Sand it down, clean the area, spray a rust converter, and seal it with paint or clear coat. The second is scale rust. This is when corrosion starts eating into the metal, creating rough, flaky patches and bubbling paint. At this stage, you'll need to remove the damaged layer completely, then treat it with converter, and follow up with your $12 lanolin spray for lasting protection. The third and worst is penetrating rust. This is when corrosion has gone all the way through the metal, creating holes in the body or frame. Once this happens, it's usually too late for DIY fixes. Repairs can cost several $1,000s. The key is to inspect your car regularly, especially around wheel wells, door edges, and undercarriage seams. Rust starts where salt and water sit longest. 5 minutes of checking after each wash can save you years of headaches and thousands in repair bills. 12. Zinc is the upgrade path, not the star. If you've already cleaned, converted, and coated your car's metal, there's one more upgrade that can take your rust protection to the next level: zinc-rich paint. It's not as cheap as your $12 lanolin spray, but it works differently and complements it perfectly. Zinc is what's called a sacrificial metal. It corrodes before the steel underneath does, forming a barrier that protects the metal below. That's the same principle behind galvanized steel. The reason ship hulls, bridges, and guardrails last for decades in harsh environments. For vehicles, you can use zinc-rich cold galvanizing spray paint. It's ideal for bare metal, welds, or repairs where you've removed all the rust and want long-term protection. Spray a thin coat, let it cure, then finish with paint, primer, or your lanolin-based inhibitor for extra moisture resistance. Zinc coatings are especially useful for brackets, suspension parts, exhaust hangers, and exposed hardware, the pieces that tend to rust first. Just remember, zinc sprays are not flexible. They're great on solid steel, but not on areas that flex or move. That's where your $12 lanolin coating still reigns supreme. Think of zinc as the upgrade path, professional-grade protection for critical parts, while the lanolin spray remains your quick, all-purpose defense. Use both wisely, and you've built a corrosion system that even salt and time will struggle to beat. 13. Benchmark alternatives, credibility frame, not endorsements. Before we wrap up, let's talk about alternatives. Not endorsements, just proof that the $12 solution works on the same principle as high-end products. Across the industry, every rust prevention method comes down to one thing: creating a barrier between steel, oxygen, and moisture. That's it. Whether you spend $12 or $100, the goal is the same. For example, WD-40, Specialist Long-Term Corrosion Inhibitor, is one of the most well-known premium sprays. It claims to protect up to 1 year outdoors and 2 years indoors by forming a waxy, non-drying film. ACF50, often used in aviation, costs several times more but follows the same science. It creeps into seams and displaces moisture. Then there's Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer, which chemically converts rust before sealing it under a durable primer layer. The difference? Price and convenience. The same lanolin-based inhibitors like Fluid Film or Surface Shield offer nearly identical protection for a fraction of the cost, around $12 a can. They may not have the flashy branding, but they've been used for decades on ships, farm equipment, and aircraft. These comparisons aren't about selling products, they're about perspective. Expensive doesn't always mean better, consistency does. Regular use of a simple $12 spray, applied a few times a year, will outlast any miracle coating if you stick to the habit. It's not about the brand, it's about building a barrier that rust can never cross. 14. Electronic rust modules. Explain why ships are not cars. You've probably seen them advertised before, small electronic boxes that claim to stop rust with electricity. They sound futuristic, they're marketed with marine science buzzwords, and they often cost hundreds of dollars. But here's the truth, they don't work on cars. And here's why. These devices are based on a real, proven technology called cathodic protection. It's used on ships, underground pipelines, and oil rigs. All massive metal structures constantly surrounded by a conductive liquid like seawater or damp soil. That liquid acts as an electrolyte, allowing the electrical current to flow and protect the metal surface. Your car, however, doesn't live in an electrolyte. It spends 99% of its life surrounded by air, not water. That means the current these devices send through your car's frame can't travel far enough to stop oxidation. Independent lab tests and automotive studies have repeatedly shown that on-road electronic rust inhibitors provide no measurable protection. Yet they continue to sell because the science sounds impressive. It's not entirely snake oil, it's just misapplied technology. If you want cathodic protection that actually works, buy something galvanized. Steel coated in zinc acts as its own sacrificial anode. That's real physical cathodic protection. So while ships can use electricity to fight rust, cars can't. Save your money, skip the gimmicks, and stick to the barrier method. Your $12 lanolin spray does what those boxes only promise. 15. Why this matters. Money shot. Let's put all of this into perspective. Rust isn't just a cosmetic issue, it's an economic one. According to industry studies, corrosion costs American drivers over $23 billion every single year. That's more than floods, engine failures, and accidents combined. And the worst part? Most of it is preventable. A little salt, moisture, and time are all it takes to destroy thousands of dollars in value. Frames collapse, brake lines snap, suspension mounts rot from the inside, and by the time it's visible, it's already too late. But the solution isn't complicated, expensive, or hidden behind dealership marketing. It's about habits. Cleaning your drains, rinsing your undercarriage, keeping your garage cool and dry, and sealing your car's steel with one simple $12 step. Those tiny routines can buy you an extra decade of life from your vehicle and save you thousands in repairs and depreciation. Most people don't lose their cars to accidents. They lose them to neglect. Rust eats quietly, without warning. But once you understand how it starts, and how easily it can be stopped, you realize something powerful. You're in control. Because the truth is, it doesn't take a professional to protect your car. It just takes awareness, consistency, and a single can of prevention that costs less than lunch. That's why this matters, not just for your car, but for your wallet and your peace of mind. And that's the real secret. Rust isn't a mystery, it's a pattern. The cars that last aren't the ones built better. They're the ones maintained smarter. You don't need a full workshop, a detailing subscription, or an expensive lifetime coating. All it takes is a few simple habits: a clean undercarriage, clear drains, dry floors, and one $12 can that blocks rust before it ever begins. Every step you take chips away at that $23 billion problem, one car at a time, starting with yours. So, before another winter hits, grab that can, take 20 minutes, and build the habit that could save your car for good. If you found this helpful, don't stop here. In the next video, I'll show you how a single maintenance mistake can cost you thousands in hidden damage, and how to fix it yourself. Click on the screen now to see how to keep your car running, like new for years longer than the manufacturer ever expected. Because rust doesn't win by being stronger, it wins when you stop paying attention.